All right, folks, what is up? Just making some adjustments here. Bear with me. Wanted to do a video tonight. It is actually storming outside. You're in front of the light, baby. There you go. Got my daughter in here with me, and we're gonna be looking at a PS4 controller. And this light is entirely too bright, so we're gonna bring it down a little bit, just so you guys can get some contrast there. All right, so today I wanted to start doing a series about fixing your PS4 controllers. This may be a long video. If you've got questions, please ask them as I do these videos live. You guys have been showing me so much love and support on these live videos. So yeah, I decided that, this is a great time to do it, and this is a great time to kind of go in. Um, in the first video, we're going to be focusing on taking your controller apart because some of you still have issues doing that in a way that is non-damaging to your controller. And we're going to do that. I'm going to show you how to do it really easily. We're going to go over some of the parts, and we're going to go over some of the stress points to look for when taking the controller apart. And what I want to do in this series, to do something cool that a lot of people may or may not do, is each time we do a video, I'm going to take apart a different one of my controllers. And I think that'll be kind of cool for you guys to see as well. So in this video, again, we're going to be taking this controller apart, and I'm going to be showing you how everything looks on the inside. I'm going to break it completely down, and I'm going to put it all the way back together. So I just want to kind of show you, again, if you have questions, ask them. If I don't see your question, that's because I'm working on something, because I'm kind of doing dual purpose. I do have my 8-year-old here to help me, but she may miss a question as well. So if she sees it, she will definitely shout it out and just repost it. So this is the controller that I've been working with so far this year when I went back to a PS4 controller. And this is just a standard PS4 controller with the update where it's got the light bar where you can see through here from the back. On the original PS4 controllers, this was completely opaque, so you could not see through here. You could only see out of this back portion. I've got several mod videos where I talk about how to mod that and how to take this thing apart. But for those of you, again, that are having some issues, I just wanted to share this with you because I get a lot of questions about how you can fix your controllers. I have never had a controller die completely because I do preventative maintenance on my controllers. I recommend that you do the same. What's preventative maintenance? That means taking this thing apart and doing an oil change on it, if you will, once about every 8 months or so, depending on how much you play with it. I play with my controller probably 1 or 2 nights a week pretty hard, but that's about it. But I still take it apart and clean crucial things. And I think that you should do the same if you want to keep your controller performing at its height. Hey, what's up? And so one of the things we're going to do is go ahead and break this thing down. Now, right now, we've got a couple control freaks on, and we've got that, I forget what the name of this pack is, that adds the paddles. So far, I will do a review on this soon, but it's working pretty good, but it does have some things that I wish were better. I did lose the thumbsticks because the amount of pressure that I put on when I'm shooting was not great, or excuse me, the extensions on the L2, R2, the trigger extensions. Did lose those, it just wasn't great. So I'm gonna be doing a more permanent solution at a later date. So we're gonna take off this mod pack and we're just gonna pop that out, and it should just slide off like so, and it did. And this is the strike pack from Collective Minds. It says it right there. So we're gonna file that to the side because you wouldn't have to deal with that under normal situation, in normal circumstances. So I'm gonna take these control freaks off. Back. Hold on. Hopefully we can get back in this live 406, 407. I hope we're back. It says I lost connection for a second. Sorry, guys. Um, if anybody's watching, let me know if I'm back. But so far, so you get your L2, your R2, your L1, your R1, you're sharing your options button. You got a little speaker here. You have your PlayStation button. And that's pretty much everything there is to it outside of a headphone jack in the bottom, if you so decide to use that. You do have your charging port here, which is a micro USB, and that is also important. I hope on the new PlayStation that this is upgraded to a USB Type-C. I think that'd be amazing. That way you don't have to worry about putting it in a specific way. You can just kind of do whatever, and you'll still get the same amount of connection. So what I want to do is take this apart, and you do need a tool in order to do that. I use these little Husky screwdrivers. You can get them from Lowe's or Home Depot. They're like anywhere from $5 to $7, maybe $10 depending on the market you live in. But they're great. They last forever, and they're really good. So in the back end of it, you've got 3 bits that are Phillips and flat, Phillips on one side, flathead on the other, and then it comes with one on top that's Phillips and flat on the other. And what you want to do before you go in here and start marring up these screws, because they are really soft aluminum or whatever kind of metal they are, is find the bit that works well for you. Now, a lot of people think you have to be super exact here. You don't. I've taken apart thousands of controllers literally, and you just need to find something that is close. And I'm using this one right here, which is a 0, and this one's just labeled a PH0 3/32 on it. So this is the one that I'm going to go with because it works. It gets a nice tight grip and it's manageable for me, because you're not super torquing this controller down anyway. You just want to do it to a point, or torque the controller down to a point so that you can get these screws out. Now, on the screw point, you have 1 screw, 2 screw, 3 screw, 4 screw, and then there's a little reset right there, master reset. And then if you have a controller that's genuine, it has the serial code and all this stuff on the back. So I go ahead and I always place a finger on top to bite into the screw, and then I start twisting lefty loosey, righty tighty. You might have heard that little pop. So I'm just gonna ease this guy out of here. Make sure you keep up with your screws, guys. That's also important. Just take your time when you're taking this stuff apart. Don't get in here and like just tear through it, because that'll be bad. Take your time and everything will work out for you. And they come out really quick, and I like these screwdrivers again because they're so efficient, and that's the key, is the level of efficiency that I get. All the screws are exactly the same size, so they are interchangeable in that way. And am I in there? Oh. So I'm just taking my time here, and I'm going to ease this screw out. Now, sometimes, depending on how much your hands sweat, you may encounter a little bit of dirt in the screws. So that may make it a little harder to get in. That's another reason why I like to take my finger and mash down in there to get a bite with that head of that screwdriver, just to make sure that I get in there and start to twist that screw, get some torque going. And boom. Some people do this with an electric driver. I don't recommend using anything electric here outside of a soldering iron, because you're dealing with soft plastic and soft metal and things can go bad. All right, so once you get that part done, what I like to do is, I call it cracking the egg, but that's really what it is there's a little line right here on both sides, and I like to pop that line, and that's how I take this controller apart. So if you watch, I grab it through here, and I've got my hand around it. Then I go here and I'm going to pop it open. Pop, crack the egg, crack the egg. So now I've got it open. There are some little clamps on this side, but they're built very well. It's almost, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's really hard to break those. Get your hands in there and just be gentle, but firm. And you heard it pop. I'm just going to take my hand and work it around. I'm not sure if boom. Not sure if I've ever taken this one apart. That one was tight, but take your time. Don't go Hulk and rip it apart. Just easy like I did. Just move it a little bit. If it doesn't give, a little more. If it doesn't give, a little more, it'll pop loose. Then what you want to do is pop it off the back. Now, there is a ribbon cable right here, right off the bat, that you need to take out. See it right there? And all you want to do is pull that guy out, and boom, you've got 2 parts. Now, you need to really be careful anytime you're messing with batteries. You could get a shock. And let me show you how this battery is set up. So this battery has like a little clip on this battery tray here. You kind of see it there. And these 2 wires rest in there so they don't get tugged on, kind of like so. So what I do is I just take that loose, and I just grab it close to the head and pop that out just like so. Doesn't damage the battery. So now we don't have to worry about turning our PlayStation on, and we've got a controller to work on. This little battery plate here, just wiggle it, it'll pop out. It's just got some plastic clips. Usually it'll pop out. Let's see. Yeah, again, you don't want to break anything. I'm just trying to figure out how this is in here. Doing it from behind the camera is a little trickier too. There it goes. Just got to tug on it a little bit. Find a spot that works. You guys are seeing it live. I'm not just going in here going hardcore and ripping this thing apart. I'm taking my time. And now I've made my way down to the PCB board. You've got rumble packs in here, which a lot of people like. I don't use them generally in my controllers. I don't even like the weight of them. Unless I'm playing a fighting game, I like a heavier controller, but otherwise I do not. So I would generally cut these off or solder LED lights to these points or do something else. Just depends on what I'm doing with the controller. And here is the one of the main boards for this controller. As you can see, there's a wire here that does something that I'll get to in a second. And there's that reset right there. And let me point to that with this. So there's the reset right there. Then this wire right here goes to this touchpad up front. And you do need to take that out in order to access the rest of the controller. Now it does have a pull tab built in that you can just take out and take your time. It'll come out like so. So now that's loose. And generally speaking, you guys, you're almost there. So on the older controllers, this back part, this piece is fully enclosed and you have to kind of wiggle the button up through here in order to get it to sit. Now they've kind of opened that up, which is really nice and makes it a lot easier. We're gonna get back to this part in a second, but for right now, I do want to focus on this front portion. So this is pretty much ready to come out. There is one screw still left in. We're going to take that out, and you do have to take that out in order to get access to everything else. Now, it's important that you hold on while you're taking, like I'm holding the board and the front of the controller here. I have discharged any static, so don't worry about that. It is important that you hold on while you're unscrewing this last screw, because if you do not, you might damage something. The chances are slim, but you might do it. Now, let's start talking about fixing the controller and things that might go wrong. So I'm holding on because if I didn't right now, everything might fall out. So things that people have issues with on a PlayStation controller. Number one, the analogs. Over time, dirt and grime gets down in there and we mash on them real hard and we don't service them and take it apart and clean it real good, and we work a lot of dirt and dust down in there. Even on my controller, you can look here and start to see some buildup going on, so it's going to have to be cleaned. These are one of the major areas where controllers break, start doing weird things. Some of you have probably had a controller for PlayStation 1, 2, or 3 or 4, and the analog start doing weird stuff on you. You tell it to go straight, it's going to the left or to the right, and it gets very frustrating when you're trying to play a game and make precise movements. So that's an area where you really have a lot of issues. Another area where you have some issues, your buttons up top, L1, L2, R1, R2. People have a lot of problem with those because the design has some issues, in my opinion. It works okay, but if you look in here, you can kind of see it. There is a little spring in there. There's a little spring on this other side. We're gonna pop these out and I wanna show you, but a lot of people have problems with those and that ends up causing issues when they're trying to play a game and have inputs. Also, depending on how much pressure you put down, you can actually break one of these guys, which will cause even more problems. So what I'm gonna do now is I wanna look down in here and just see how this is captured. And it looks like it's captured right there on either side, and it should be able to just pop back out. I'm not sure because I haven't taken it apart yet, but I just popped it loose. So yeah, that's pretty much straight how it works. If you can see here, these are one of the main culprits that breaks on these controllers. So you've got these two little bars right here that go on either side of the L2 and the R2. And if you snap one of those off, this button is not going to function correctly as you're going up and down. You're going to have some problems. So you can buy replacements of these on eBay, I'm pretty sure, and pretty much all these components on eBay, but you got to know how to get in here and replace them. The tough part of that is this little spring right here. And what's cool now is that this spring, and I don't know how well you guys can see that, there's a spring right there. And on the newer controllers, it doesn't just fly out and go everywhere. So it's set or locked in. So you don't have the issue where you have to try and line that up and then snap that L2 or R2 in like on the old controllers. It just pops right in and you'll be good to go once you line it up. Inside of that button, you have a situation where you basically just have the contact pad or the contact point where these buttons, and you can see it right here with L1. If I press up under there, it's pushing on that clear plastic, and that's what actually gives you the input in the video game. So, or whatever you're doing. So you just got to be careful. A lot of times you see there's a little clip here. This might come off and be flapping around like that and may get misaligned with that point, and that may cause you to lose input as well. So it's stuff like that you just kind of got to be careful of and make sure that everything is working for you. So I just want to make sure that I pull that back down. It's real simple, locks it right back into place. All right, let's go ahead and pop this part out. And what I do to pop this part out is I just grab these motors. They are good for something. And I pull this whole inner portion of the controller out. Now, um, these motors and this board is set inside a plastic housing. That's what keeps everything together. And I only took one part off just to kind of show you. You can pop this guy off too. You can get in here and unsnap it, and it's just clipped in. I'm not going to do that because it's a pain in the butt to get back in, but you can pop that off if you were to damage it. This is your front input contacts. So again, face buttons, as you can see, D-pad, as you can see, PS button, as you can see. And one of the important things to understand and note about this guy is that this can get dirty, this can get stuff caught in it, and it can get misaligned and start to cause your controller to act jacked up. And there's a lot of reasons why. It does have a catch point there and right there to secure it, but anything can happen. And if this guy gets up a little bit like that off that point and starts flopping around in there, say you drop your controller hard enough, I've seen things happen where I've opened controllers, brand new controllers, where people have dropped or through because they got PO'd at a game, and that was just swinging around in here like this, and they weren't able to get contact. So those are the kind of things you want to check right off the bat when you're opening the controller up for the first time. Little things like that that might be misaligned. To take the analogs off is real easy. Just grab hold to something and they pop right off. And you can generally look inside to see what's going on with them. These, like I said, this is a fairly new controller in that I haven't used it a lot, but you can see on top how the moves from the inputs, everything's nice and tight. So this guy is in great shape, should work for a long time to come. You can buy these online. I want to say I saw them for like 12 to 15 bucks, which may be, yeah, it looks just like a PS2, PS3 controller for the most part. But aside online, if you ever run into any issues, I have had mixed success buying third-party versions of these, and those just snap back in just like I just did. But the soldering points are right across the back here, and if you don't know how to use a soldering gun, I recommend if you want to work on anything to learn, but I can kind of do a tutorial video on that if you guys would like. It's not too hard, but you just got to make sure you understand how to use the heat, because that's the hard part. So that's pretty much it for a controller on the inside. And in terms of the contact points, and you can kind of look at this internal circuit board to kind of tell you what mods, if you want to do an internal mod like a rapid fire or something like that, you need to find out which kit you want to use. You need to know which board you have on the inside, and how to connect it. And generally what will happen, let's see if I can disconnect this because these will come apart. These are glued in, which are crazy, but you can move this board separately. And this is the actual contact point right here where the two boards talk. This board talks to this point, this board, and basically all you have to do is line this guy up. And if you line it up, it'll work great. Now, when I'm doing a deep cleaning for like one of my friends' controllers, I take this whole thing apart. And so you just pop this off. I'll show y'all because just in case you wanted to see it. Take your time. You don't want to rip this or tear this. Pop this guy off. And you do have to take these guys off to do it. So you see I just put a little bit of pressure on it to get that loose. And you do need to pop this up. So I'm going to take it all the way down. Pop that up. We'll move. Get this guy out. Hold on. And it's a pain because of the way they keyed these now. There we go. Pop that up. And now we should be able to start getting everything out. Now you can't take this all the way out. See those little teeth in there? So we have to use our little screwdriver here in order to get this out all the way. So just take your time and you pop those teeth out. That one came out, and this is what that contact looks like. And make sure you figure out how these need to be lined up. Don't be afraid, because this isn't that hard to work on, you guys. I know you're like, yeah, right, but I promise you it's not. You just got to take your time. So now I've got everything released. I've just got to lift this up over the top on both sides, and it should pretty much come out of there. Boom. So this is the important thing. There's generally a piece of foam in there, which you can see, and that creates the contact for the pressure. So you definitely need that to stay. So a lot of times if you take your controller apart and it doesn't work, 9 out of 10 times you forgot to put this piece of foam in, or it's flopping around on the inside. So definitely check that. That goes right up under these points here. And those points right here are important because if you use a Easy Mod remap board or something, it lines up with this and it gives you that added functionality. So it connects this guy with, where's that point? Those points right there, and it talks together. Let me turn it around so you can see it. And boom, everything talks. So the only thing, if we wanted to take this board all the way off, we would need to do at this point is just unsolder. Show you those 2 points for these motors, or we could snip them if we're not going to use the rumble motors, and we'd be boom. It'd be a complete teardown. And what I would do to start working on this guy is I would alcohol this surface down, make it nice and smooth, make sure there's no imperfections. And I use like a 90% or better alcohol. That way it dissolves really good. I would spray this down as well, just really quick, and then wipe it down to make sure there's nothing on it, no dirt or anything. And then I stick it back together and slide it back in and start to reseat it. So yeah, that's the inner workings. Now let's get to the other part. So let's take this off, and this is really easy to take off. You flip it in and pop it off. So to take the touchpad off, you flip it in like this, and it's on this little bar right here, and then you just let it drop out, and bloop, it's off. You can pop this off to make it a clear touchpad if you want. I've done that before when I created a clear controller. It does have this single ribbon connector, and you do have to connect it into the top back of that main board in order to make it work. I don't even know the whole purpose of the touchpad. It doesn't really do a whole lot. I think they had a good idea for it, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll get a redesign and do something better with it next time around. Then we're left with the front cover. And this really is for you guys that want to mod or paint your controllers. You got to take this thing down at least to this point anyway. So all you want to do now, what's up, Kyle, is pop off this guy here. You want to pop off this guy here, and make sure you understand the orientation, big side up for your PS button. You want to pop off your D-pad, and then everything will start to come out. Now, you do have a contact point in there, PS button. You can't order clear ones of these online if you want. There's options out there to do all kinds of stuff. If you want to do custom face buttons like I've done in my white controller, this is a great time to do that. And I just lay these down the same kind of way. Now, these are keyed, and when you say, well, Chris, what does keyed mean? They only go in one way, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But basically, there's notches inside these button spots, and they're all different. And there are notches on the buttons that are all different. So if you stick this button in here, it's not in, but if I start to slide it around, it'll find its notch point like so, and then it fell right into place. So those are the kind of things you just got to pay attention to. Then what else is in here? Oh, there's these 2 extra buttons, the share and what is the other one? Options. Take those out. They're keyed as well. They go up top, and then the D-pad falls out. Now this D-pad does have bracing there. So each individual section has its own spot. I like that. Some people don't, but it's just, up to you and your opinion. But now we have a complete clear shell that you can do whatever you want to do with. So you can clean this up, degrease it. You can paint it glow in the dark. You can paint it white. You can add some clear. The main thing you want to do, guys, if you did want to do something, some modding or anything like that, or if you're having issues where your buttons are a little tight, check these slots right here, because this is a big one. This is where a lot of stuff builds up. Dirt from your fingers, your hands, your pores, right in here. Not so much these two because you don't use them, but holy smokes, these here, here, and here, you get a lot of buildup, and around here. You want to clean that out really good. So have some Q-tips on hand, maybe a toothpick or two, and you'll be surprised how much gunk you pull out of there. And while I'm doing that, I also go ahead and go in on these sides here. Let me put my screwdriver back together. I go in on the side here, and I will get all up in here, and I'll take this and scrape this screwdriver right along this side and pull all that dirt out. And there's a little dirt in here right now, so I can do it live on camera just to show you. I'm just gonna scrape that out, and you can see it gathering there. This will kill you. That little bit of dirt right there will make your controller stop working over time, believe it or not, folks. And so that's the kind of stuff you want to deal with. Now, if you guys have access to compressed air, I do recommend using some compressed air to blow this out, just to make sure you get it all the way clean. And it doesn't have to be like, perfect from the factory, but you want to get as much of that gunk out of there. And this is just a little bit of usage, and I've already accumulated, this much dirt. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So you've made your repair, you've checked everything out, you think you got everything clean. It's time to start getting ready to put it back together. And putting it back together is the part where most people get terrified. You're like, all right, I got it. I got it apart now. How in the heck do I get this thing back together? So I go ahead and start with the face buttons a lot of time, and it really just depends on what I'm into, and what I'm closest to, I'll grab it. So we just want to make sure that everything falls into the slots where it needs to go. Is that outside? I think so. Hold on, yeah. No, wrong button. Hold on, wrong button. There you go. I had those two mixed up. Just want to make sure everything falls into the slots here. That's important. I always know where X and triangle are. It's circle and square that I get screwed up. You just want to make sure you drop these in where they need to go. It's not a race. Although if you want to race me, we can race, bro. See who's the fastest at putting one back together. And then you just want to line this up. Now there are some little points in here that line up with these little points, those little see transparent points there. You just want to line this up and take your time and massage that guy back in, and you'll feel it. You definitely want to put this back together right, because if not, your controller's not gonna function to the best of its abilities. And once you get it, it'll work. I'm just taking my time to make sure that I'm getting on that point. There we go. Jeez, it's a pain in the butt. All right, there we go. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. All right. Everything's in. I'm just mashing on it really good to make sure. And then what I do is I put my fingers back here, just normally 2 fingers, and just press to make sure that I got good contact. And you can feel it on the back end. So this button, when I press, will give you feedback there. You can see it pulsing. So yeah, we're good there. We're going to go ahead and drop the D-pad back in. Same kind of deal. Same little points. And they are different. You want to let me, and if you need to look like I'm doing, I'm cheating a little bit, that's okay. We're going to line that guy up. Boom, 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 and boom, boom. So everything is seated. Same difference. I like to check, because the last thing you want to do is get this back together and something simple is not working correctly. You'll be very upset. Make sure the PS button is facing the correct way. We'll drop that guy in, and we're going to go ahead and put the, there you go, and make sure it's working, it's pulsing. We're good to go there. So we got the PS button. We're going to drop these options and share buttons back in. They are keyed, so you shouldn't have too much of a problem dropping those in, but I always forget to drop those in because they sit flush almost. So I'll put a controller back together and have these two buttons left out. Have my Homer Simpson moment. So boom, drop that in. All right. So now we're starting to get a controller again, at least the front of a controller. So we're gonna go ahead and put this cradle back together. We're gonna do the reverse of what we did. We don't wanna hook this on top. We wanna pull it up and we wanna come up under it. So we wanna go under, use our pointer finger to grab it, and boom, set that in. So now we got the whole front of a controller except the analogs, which will come with the controller body. Next, we got to put this SOB back together, which sucks, but take your time. And you just need to see where all of your gaps are. So you want to plug this guy in first. So let's get that in. Come on, come on. I had it. And this is very finicky stuff, so be careful. You don't want to pull too hard, but you want to pull hard enough to get it to go. So I'm going to use this as an anchor point since I've got it back in. Almost. All right. And you want to make sure that this, when you snap it back in, gets on those two plastic notches. The next thing that we're going to do is run this guy up. Before I put this down, I could put this down now to hold that board in place, which would be fine. If you want to do that, that's perfectly reasonable, because there's those two notches, so everything's seated there. But the next thing that I want to do before I lock it down is put these guys in. So these are where your L2, L1, R2, R1s are. So I'm just going to push these on top and push them through. So give me 1 second there. Got it. And we just got to make sure it goes like so. That should go down like so. I'm going to snap this in like so. And you'll hear it. Listen. It didn't make as big a snap this time. Womp womp. Got a hole right here where my finger's showing through. That's what's going to hook right here. So we're just going to take that on top, just like we did on the other side. Get that through there. Hope you guys can see that. Don't break this, because if you do, your controller's toast. Take your time here. Ooh. And it'll go. You want to get this down. You can hear the little snaps. And boom, it is in. Now that's in on both sides. The next thing we have to do is seat these little plastic clips, and they just go in, and then there's two spots where they bite, and that's what we gotta work on, is those two bite spots. And this is where I'll use my screwdriver, and I'm just gonna put a little pressure up there, and it should cinch. And the only way to check is I'll pull this back out and see, and it did, in fact, cinch that up. And so I'm going to make sure that's setting, and that is setting in there perfectly. So now we've got this piece of plastic back in, this contact point. We got to do it on the other side. So how this is kind of sitting up right now, we want to lay that down, make sure it's back far enough, and then we're going to take this, and we got to make sure it's going the right way. Stick it in there. It's got these little teeth right here at the bottom right there, and that's what's going to do the connecting. So we're just going to ease it in. Come on, buddy. Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, boom. Like so. And I'm just going to use my screwdriver here to make sure that front is down. And we are set. So the next thing I want to do is make sure my L and my R don't get screwed up. I am playing with this controller tonight, by the way, so it's got to work. So we'll make sure that this is set up. And it basically just falls together like so. Perfect. We're going to do the other side. Perfect. So we got both those in. So now we want to do our, let me go and put these analogs on. They're keyed horizontally and vertically, so just line them up. If you put them on the other side, this is another area, by the way, guys, where I recommend take a Q-tip with a little alcohol and wipe down in there. Do the other side here. Good there. We just got to do our L2 and R2. So this is R, this is R. So we just got to line this up and push it in. You should hear it pop. Good to go. Real easy like. Same thing on the other side. Line it up. You should hear it pop. All right, we're good to go there. Got pressure on that spring. All right, now we are ready to go back in this front case. But there's one thing you got to pay attention to. So you see there's a hole right here. This has to go through that hole for that touchpad, or the touchpad's not going to work. So take your time, make sure everything is seated, and you want to just kind of real easy like finagle this guy in there without doing what I just did. Am I up in there? This can be a bit of a struggle, of a pain, but you guys are seeing it live, so you get an idea as to whether this is a headache or not, or how much of a headache it is. All right, boom. All right, so I just had to finagle it down in there. So before I lock anything down, I just want to check. Good, 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 and good. So I just went through and tested all of my buttons. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop a screw back here before I start tying everything, buttoning everything down. Go back to my Phillips. And we'll screw this single screw that holds this board in down. And you'll start to feel the board tighten on you. You don't have to super over tighten, but you do want to tighten it at least hand tight and half a turn beyond. So now we got a working controller. Yay. Almost. All right, next, let's go ahead and put this ribbon back in, and it only goes in one way, right up top there. So try to show you a better angle. We just want to grab that guy and slide it down in there. These ribbon cables, you do have to be careful because over time they can wear out on you. There's a little white line on this one, and that white line tells you how far you want to go. And I just mash it just a little bit. It's got a nice little piece of guide plastic there, so you should be good to go. So we're good there. We're gonna go ahead and add this guy back in. It should just snap in. Yep, real easy like. We can now go ahead and add our battery back in and make sure we're going the right way with it. Am I going the right direction here? I think so. Yeah. Battery's back in. We're gonna set that guy down and let me hook these connector cables in that little catch. Slide that guy back in. Boom. All right, we're almost there. Now, the next thing we want to look at here is this ribbon cable connection, because this is where a lot of people have problems. Basically, it connects, it's a little different now, but it connects in there. There's a little piece of shielding plastic there. This is the part that plugs into the controller. And then this little piece of plastic here pushes that light from the back out to the front. That's how you can see it in the front now. The old controllers did not have this piece of plastic in them. So it's pretty much how that works. Once you get ready to put this back together, the only other thing you need to do is make sure that you have your cable plugged in. And what I do is sit this kind of down in an up position, like I'm holding it up, and I'll push this ribbon cable in like so. So everything is connected. Now all you have to do is take your time and line this back up together so that everything sits how it's supposed to. Uh-oh, battery fell out. See, this is why you got to be patient, because it doesn't always go back together super easy, especially on these. I think these newer ones are harder to put back together than the old ones. But we got light, so that's good. So I'm just gonna take my time. I gotta make sure this top part, that's the part that's most important to me, goes back in, falls under. I'm gonna push on it. I'm gonna push on it. And boom. We're gonna check everything before we put screws in. Push the PS button. We got a light, searchlight, which is great. We can go ahead and put our screws back in, and we will be about ready to play tonight. And that's pretty much it, you guys. I mean, about how to take it apart and put it back together. Don't get intimidated. Those points that I showed you are definitely points that you want to go in and clean and look at if you're having issues with your controller. Do not, and I put these back in a cross pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, or you get however, whatever cross pattern you want to go with. But you know, don't be afraid to take this apart, and don't be afraid to work on it. It's not really that big of a deal. You just got to make sure that you have a few tools and a little bit of patience, because the first time taking this apart, you may not be able to get it to go as quickly as I got it to go. And that's okay, because I've done this a ton. So, you know, you just got to make sure that you take whatever time you need based on your skill level and try to work through it. And you can do a little bit of self-diagnostics. Now, that's for you guys that don't want to just go out there and drop, you know, another 60 bucks on the controller. If you do a little bit of maintenance every, you know, like I said, about 8 months, your controller will probably last you forever if you don't throw it up against the walls when you lose a match or something. But you know, these controllers, like I said, I've not lost a controller outside of me losing one working on it, experimenting on it. I've not lost it just from normal gaming use. So that's just me. And I just changed my grip because I like to have a better grip on these bottom buttons when I get ready to put them back in. Or bottom screws, excuse me. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is put this mod pack back on, because I am still working with it, using it for the different functionalities. Did that work? Hey, what's up? What's up? Now I gotta make sure this thing, there we go. It's kind of fidgety sometimes. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. We'd love to see you mod controllers again, like adding better grips, trigger stops. Yeah, those are some of the things that I do want to get into. Again, I am going to do a remap board on this controller, or maybe one of the clear ones. Like, I haven't bought it yet from GameStop, but I do plan to do it. I want to do like a easy remap so I can add my own triggers. This is just so easy. That's why I like using my trigger and my knife. I use this for jump, scuff jump, and knifing. But this is real easy, but you can do an easy remap and do the same thing. You can also add rapid fire or any kind of thing like that if you want to do it. Adding lights is also something I will get into. It doesn't work as great with this controller, but with the clear faces that come out now, there are some really cool things that you can do to kind of do some clear. Go up under where Baxter's pen is, on the left side up under that cabinet. My clear controller's under there. Go get that and bring it to me.
Not on the side by where my bike is, but on the other side.
Yeah, about where my lighting equipment is. I'm gonna get my daughter to go grab another controller. I want to show it to you guys, but it should work pretty good with a clear cover as opposed to this black. You can go in and drill these out and put housings in and do lights and do all kind of crazy stuff if you want to do that. And that's how I started out doing that kind of stuff. But I don't know that it's a really good fit now, because there's other controller options that I think are better. But as far as off the shelf stuff, this works really good. So here's just another controller I got laying around that I made, that I customized before you could get a clear. And it's got the clear face buttons in it. It's got LEDs wired in. It is probably not running right now because I haven't run it in a while, but it's not charged. But it's got clear D-pad, you name it, fully functional. can use it. And this was before they offered a clear version. I made my own clear PS button. So something like this from a light up standpoint would be amazing. I even took this apart and used the clear version. So I had to break it down to use this, but it works great. This works just like factory and have had zero issues out of it. Speaker works, you name it. Had to retrofit a few parts because they didn't work exactly, but like right here, the fit is not 100%, but it's pretty dang good. And so, you know, I'm not worried about dropping this and something happens. Josh says, what about adding something like Flex Seal stuff to the back half of the controller? You could do something like that. I mean, it's just as easy as like I just took this controller apart. All you do is take this part off and prep it and just make sure you covered that hole somehow. But yeah, you could use Flex Seal or you could use like a plastic dip or something. Spray it, let it sit for a couple hours and boom, you're ready to go. I mean, it's, yeah, you could absolutely do something like that to add some extra grip to the controller. If you are in need of grip, you have that opportunity and that option. So I definitely recommend trying it. The worst that could happen, and the reason I like a plastic dip product is that if you don't like it, you can just peel it off and there's no harm to your surface. The only catch is that you need to spray that stuff on a little thicker just so that it would so when you pull it off, it won't come off in small pieces, it'll come off as one sheet. But yeah, those are like, you know, again, there's just some options, some things that you can do for your controller needs to kind of modify and make your controller your own. All right, guys, thank you so much for kicking it with me. We've been going for like 47 minutes. This is part one. In the next part, we'll take apart another controller that I have, and we're going to look at actually doing some maintenance to it because I've got like 12 controllers that are nasty that need some work. Maybe I'll get my friend Josh or I'll get my friend Jonathan. My friend Jonathan probably be better because he plays with his controls a lot. I'll get a friend, my friend Jonathan or my other friend, and get their controller and tear it down and look at theirs and show you how I clean it and go through a full cleaning process and get it back to them. They'll be happy. You guys will get an opportunity to see the cleaning happen. And I won't go over the tear down again. I just get directly into the cleaning on that one. That way we don't waste that time. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. This is part one, more parts to come. You guys have an amazing weekend and I will see you next time. Also, if you have questions, again, hit me in the comment section. Bye.